Outside of this one church town, there's a gold dirt road to a whole lot of nothing. Got a deed to the land, but it ain't my ground. This is God's country. We pray for rain and thank Him when it's falling, 'cause it brings a grain and a little bit of money. We put it back in a plate, I guess that's why they call it God's country. I saw the light in a sunrise, sitting back in a 40 on the muddy riverside, getting baptized in holy water and shine with the dogs running. Saved by the sound of a pin-found Dixie whistle in the wind, that'll get you heaven bound. The devil went down to Georgia, but he didn't stick around. This is God's country. We turn the dirt and work until the week's done. We take a break and break bread on Sunday, then do it all again, 'cause we're proud to be from God's country. I saw the light in a sunrise, sitting back in a 40 on the muddy riverside, getting baptized in holy water and shine with the dogs running. Saved by the sound of a pin-found Dixie whistle in the wind, that'll get you heaven bound. The devil went down to Georgia, but he didn't stick around. This is God's country. God's country. I don't care what my headstone reads or what kind of pine wood box I end up in. When it's my time, lay me 6 feet deep in God's country. I saw the light in a sunrise, sitting back in a 40 on the muddy riverside, getting baptized in holy water and shine with the dogs running. Saved by the sound of a pin-found Dixie whistle in the wind, that'll get you heaven bound. The devil went down to Georgia, but he didn't stick around. This is God's country. Yeah, I saw the light in a sunrise, sitting back in a 40 on the muddy riverside, getting baptized in holy water and shine with the dogs running. Saved by the sound of a pin-found Dixie whistle in the wind, that'll get you heaven bound. The devil went down to Georgia, but he didn't stick around. This is God's country.
Hey guys, I don't know about you, man, but every time I hear that song, man, I was gonna say my hair stands up, but it doesn't. The hair on my back stands up. I mean, what a powerful song! God's country, America, where we're at. You know what I mean? Man, that's that song when I'm on the bench press or whatever I'm doing, and I need that extra push. I put that song on, and that's a song that fires me up. But guys, talking about being fired up, we're all excited. We got a San Diego PD Detective Sergeant legend, and guys, Doug's gonna introduce him shortly. But before he does, let's bring everybody that's watching the show with us. We got Dark Triple X saying the only time he tunes in is when San Diego's on board. Brother, I'm telling you, you missed out on a great episode last night with Jim. We're gonna call him the Janae, former correctional officer did 17 years in Pelican Bay. It was an outstanding episode, and he's watching us live right now. Ceci Escano, our sister that's been with us from the very beginning, watching us from Riverside. Thank you, sister. You came in late yesterday, but today you're just on time. You're going to enjoy today's show. We got San Diego PD, gang and robbery detective legend, another San Diego Police Department legend watching us. He says 1097. This is going to be awesome. J-Bone in the house. Let's go. And we got Jim. I'm killing your name. It's Dejanay. He was with us last night. And Jim, my wife is pissed off at you, and I'm going to tell you why. You're in Thailand, so it was 9 o'clock in the morning when you were recording last night live. over here where I'm at in Florida, it was 10 o'clock at night. By the time we finished, it was 11:45. I got to bed by 12 o'clock. My wife's snoring. I'm sorry, she's sleeping. She's sleeping, and I'm cracking up. Literally, I'm shaking. I'm cracking up. Finally, she goes, "Would you please stop it? Why are you laughing?" And I woke her up because I told her the story about you in the car, and all of a sudden that gas canister goes off with one of the co-producers of 60 Minutes. And she still doesn't know why, and I'm still laughing about it. Great show last night, brother. Man, good show. You guys laughing? You guys watch it? It was hilarious.
Oh, yes. Yes,
oh my God, I'm still laughing about it. We got our Reverend Rents. He's one of our chaplains. If you need prayer, please reach out to us. We'll give you his number. He doesn't mind getting that phone call at 1 o'clock in the morning. If you need prayer, we have one of our chaplains, and Ruben Nava, another legend, is another one of our chaplains. Big VJ Juarez has been with us from the very beginning. Once again, watching us from Long Beach, drinking his water because he's working. Please like, share. Thank you, brother, for reminding us. And then Jim is cracking up. But thank you, brother. Guys, before we go, let's go around the room real quick. Bobby, we'll start off with you. Looks like you're drinking coffee back on that off the wagon again. And tell us what you're drinking, brother, and smoking today.
Just drinking some black coffee and another AJ Fernandez San Antonio. Can't remember which one this one is, but this one's a heavy. This is not for beginners. Love this cigar.
Uh-huh.
So if I start slurring towards the end of the podcast, I'm not drinking. It's probably the cigar.
And you know what? A cigar like that, dark, I mean, when it's strong, that coffee, it matches it perfectly. That's a good scotch. And Big Sean, what are you drinking today? Surprise us, brother.
I'm going back to the old fashioned from Kirkland.
Oh, that's good.
Oh, yeah. It's smooth, dude. It's smooth. It's nice.
And that Kirkland's from where? Costco, right?
That's not Costco. But I need to give a quick shout out to my grandson. He's up in Butte County, and apparently yesterday the lightnings were striking the ground, and they've got 6 or 7 fires up there right now that he's fighting. So, yeah, he said he was up for all day and all night, and it's playing on his mind and stuff. And I said, "Whoa, welcome to firefighting, dude."
Prayers for him and his platoon.
Very much prayers for him.
Yeah,
Go Eli. Love you, babe.
And Big Sean, Doug, I know you always surprise us with a $200 bottle or a bottle from Scotland somewhere. Surprises. What are you drinking today?
I'm going to really surprise you today. So anyways, a little background on this is that it's currently about 100 degrees. And in this old house in Escondido does not have air conditioning. It was built in the 1890s, so there's no air conditioning. So windows are open and it's hotter than heck. So today, for a little refreshment, I've got your Crystal Geyser water. I need to stay hydrated.
Most definitely, brother. Most definitely, man.
Today is a water day. So if you hear a little bit of traffic in the background, it's because I got all the windows open.
Hey, no problem, brother. What about you, Gary? You also drinking water with us today?
I am. That's what Doug offered, and I took it up gladly. It is hot in here.
Yeah.
Wow, I'm surprised he did not pull out one of his $200 Scotch bottles. He didn't offer that one, right? Maybe after.
I pull those out for friends.
Oh, that's a good one.
I'll see you guys.
Hey guys, without further ado, Doug, it's all yours. And as you're talking, you know what? Real quick announcement, guys. Don't forget September 30th to October 2nd, Palm Springs. It's going to be this conference sponsored by the International Latino Gang Investigators Association. It's a 3-day conference. If you're an active police officer or retired police officer, please go to this conference. It's going to be outstanding. All you got to do is click on the little, icons there. It'll give you additional information. Benny Cruz is the facilitator and also the one in charge of the conference. So please, it's going to be an outstanding conference. Great speakers. With that said, and he's talking about Benny Cruz. I'm drinking watermelon juice. All right, drinking watermelon juice. Great conference. And if you want to meet us, we're all going to be there on Tuesday the 30th. Feel free, if you can't go in because you're not law enforcement, just go to the front desk. They'll call one of us out. We would love to shake your hand and meet you. So if you want to meet us, we're going to be there all day on Tuesday the 30th. With that said, Big Doug, it's all yours, brother.
All right, guys, I want to introduce you to a very dear friend of mine, Gary Jaus. I first ran into Gary when I was a young officer in Wecan, and Gary and his partner at the time, Pat Burst, were doing a special project in working gangs involving the Crips, neighborhood Crips, and West Coast Crips, and it was called Operation Blue Rag. And we're going to talk about that some tonight, and we'll talk about a couple other cases that he worked. But Gary became a mentor real fast. Just his tenacity, the way he spoke with people. He was able to recruit informants from people you never thought anybody would ever cooperate with the police. And he's friends with some of these folks to this day, and they keep in touch all the time. But he's an outstanding detective. He's an outstanding person. And he's also one of the leaders of his church. So he's a Christian man. So it's going to be a good night. And I think you're going to enjoy the stories that Gary's got to share with us today.
God, that's a lot of pressure.
There you go. Anyway, so let me start off, Gary. Where did you grow up, and how did you get into law enforcement?
I grew up mostly here in San Diego. We got here from LA when I was 10. And going to high school and college, I had played trumpet all the way from 4th grade on. And when I got to San Diego State, I thought I'd become a performance major. I was going to be a professional trumpet player. So as I come in as a freshman and you hear these trumpet players that can play 15 notes higher than I can, I go, I don't think I can ever do that. So then my other interest was law, and I considered being an attorney or joining the FBI. By the time I got done with San Diego State, I was sick of school. And the FBI at that time had a process where they could send you, much like the military, anywhere they wanted to send you. And so I'm an only child, and my mom had really poor health. So I didn't really want to leave her in San Diego all by herself. We didn't have any other our family relatives. So I said, well, let me look into law enforcement. And I became a San Diego PD reserve for about 10 months. And I found out that I loved local law enforcement. And, I was talking with the FBI, you'd meet them, you'd try and have coffee with an FBI agent. And at the time, they were doing some pretty fancy stuff that seemed far-reaching, but they were also investigating like bike crimes on a military base. I go, that sounds pretty awful. So it's like, let me join the reserves. And I found out pretty quickly I loved it. I loved being a reserve. And after about 10 months, I got picked up by the regular academy. So that was in 1978.
So after academy time, tell us about your assignments. What assignments, and when did you make ranks and stuff? And then we'll go into your cases.
So I was in patrol for about 5 years. At about the 2.5-year mark, I put in for SWAT and was accepted into that. And I enjoyed the SWAT training, except in the summer, August and September. They'd have us out practicing sniping, and they'd have us laying in the dirt or on roofs, and it was so miserably hot. I go, this isn't as much fun as I thought it would be. And then, so after 5 years, by then my wife and I had a daughter, and I go, man, shift work's taken a toll on us, and I wanted to be an investigator. So I put in for investigations, and I made that. And back then, so this is 1982-ish, I was assigned as a burglary detective. And now I think they call it crimes against property, but back then it was burglary. So I did burglary investigations for 3.5 years, and I needed a change. But the command liked me. I was at Eastern Division, and they said, would you like to go to juvenile? And I said, yeah, I would, because as a juvenile detective, as you know, you get to investigate just about every crime except for murder and serious sex crimes. And I did that for a year, really heavy caseload as a juvenile detective. The benefit was between juvenile and burglary, I learned how to manage cases and evidence and all that goes with it. And the lieutenant at Eastern at the time had been a robbery lieutenant. And he actually called me into his office and he goes, there's openings in robbery. Would you like to go? And I'm like, I would love to go to robbery. It was one of the most prestigious units, at least in my opinion, on the department. And but I go, why would they think I was worthy of going to robbery? And that truly was the respect I had for the unit. And he said, because I've seen how you do your work. I like how you write reports. I like your follow-ups. If there's an opening, I'm going to try and get you there. So that shocked me. It came out of the blue. Stayed in robbery about 2.5 years. That's where I met the gentleman Doug talked about, Pat Burse. That's when we got into doing the rag operation. Well, I take it back. So when I was in robbery, I was focused mostly on gang robberies, like the Get Down series and the Takeover series and stuff like that. They were being done mostly by Crips. And we realized as we had informants that we were limited to only robberies. And so both Burse and I decided to transfer to the gang unit after 2.5 years. And we went to the gang unit for another 2.5 years and continued to do all sorts of interesting gang crimes. And then I made sergeant, put in for sergeant and made that. And went to the homicide task force. If you remember back in like 1990, 1992, we had a whole series of prostitute murders being dumped out in the hills. And I was part of a task force that was involved in that investigation. And then I came to do that. Oh, then I also went to the air unit. I spent two years. There's kind of a trend here. About 2.5 years, either I wear out my welcome or I went to the air unit, and I really enjoyed that too. And one of the cool things was I got to let my wife go on a fly along about every week or every month. So, and that was one of the best units I thought on the department when I saw the work they did. San Diego PD's air unit's just outstanding. So from there, that's where I had trouble with the lieutenant. They kicked me out of the air unit.
No.
Yes. And so they told me find a place to go. So I reached out to a captain at Northeastern Division, and I said, "Can I come up there?" And she goes, "We don't have a detective sergeant opening. If you'll go back to patrol, I'll get you to investigations as soon as there's an opening." And I got to be honest, I absolutely loved going back to patrol. The freedom, no caseload management, no informants, no recalcitrant witnesses. I loved it. And after a year, I became the detective sergeant at Northeastern, and that's where I ended my career in 2006.
Hey, Gary, we have a question from Benny Cruz. Let me go ahead and bring everybody back up here. Benny Cruz is saying, did you ever meet Chris Spells? He was a West Coast Crip. He actually allowed the deputies in the county jail to film him making a spear. San Diego robbery was elite, great guys, and they had Tammy Newquist. But, when you're talking about your career, all I remember you, Gary, was I didn't know you had just spent 2.5 years in gangs. I remember, literally, I thought you had spent like 10 years in gangs because all the red rag, blue rag that you guys had worked. And when you were in robbery, I remember that too. And man, for whatever reason, I thought you had spent at least 10 to 15 years in those. That's where I remember you and Pat Burse being literally legends in our department. Yeah. Do you remember this guy, Chris Spells, by any chance?
I don't actually. I remember the last name, but I don't remember the Chris part. But I do remember the last name. So, yeah.
Do you remember him, Doug? This guy, Chris Spells?
The same thing, guys. I remember the last name is Spells. I'm not sure about Chris. He may have been a little older than the guys I was dealing with when I started working gangs. So he could have been like an older brother or a cousin or an uncle even. Yeah. I just don't recall that. But the Spells family, I recall the Spells family, but I don't remember Chris. Yeah.
And Chris Kilby saying the Get Down series, I remember those. Those were legendary. And if you investigate them, I know we're going to get into gangs, but if you don't mind, just talking a little bit about, these guys, they were literally robbing everything, several shootings. Just give us just a little bit of history on that before. Is that okay with you, Doug? If he talks just a little bit on that?
Yeah. And I want to interject real quick on this, is that I think we all thought that Gary and Pat worked gangs for so long. Yeah. Because every unit they worked somehow involved gangs. And then if there was a special investigation that came up, they were drawn back to the gangs. Because their knowledge. So I think you'll find that during this that Gary was a patrol sergeant at Western Division, and he was pulled into another gang investigation as a patrol sergeant for quite some time. He was on this case. So I think it's one of those deals where you've got somebody with so much expertise, no matter where they're working in the department, you pull them out and you put them back to work specific cases because they need that kind of help. And I think that's why we thought he worked gangs for so long.
Yeah, you're right.
Anyway,
So the thing about, if I want to give you a tiny bit of background, Burse had come out of the Fugitive Apprehension Unit, and he had left that unit and come to robbery. And he had been responsible for the takedown of the outlaw motorcycle group, the Hells Angels. He had done that through multiple informants who had bought, significant quantities of dope from the Hells Angels. He took down their whole East San Diego chapter through informants. So he was really dialed into informants. So while he's doing heavy duty cases, I'm doing my juvenile cases, but I also saw the value of working with people that would talk to you. And one of my primary areas, just as background, was Tierra Santa. It's a very compacted neighborhood, lots of military families, and 1 million kids, just 1 million kids. And we had a ton of burglaries. And burglaries are really tough. So I started talking to kids. And, if you talk to them in the right way, just like older criminals, some of them will talk to you. So I started using informants. You couldn't have a juvenile informant, but you could talk to them and get information. So I was kind of following my instincts and getting people to talk to me. So when Pat and I ended up in robbery together, we both understood the value of informants in preventing future crimes and solving crimes that had already occurred. So we were just really in sync with each other. And we both carried the same values. We didn't care what hours we worked. We didn't care who got the credit. We just wanted to try and keep the community safe. So Pat and I really clicked. And we started looking at neighborhood Crips because they were the ones doing the high profile robberies. And now I honestly can't remember how we developed the first person. It was an informant named Kevin, and he was on parole. And Pat had worked closely with parole in the Fugitive Apprehension Unit. So I remember Pat walked into the parole office, and I'm along for the ride kind of on this one. And he says to this Kevin character, he goes, "Yeah, my name's Captain Burse. I'm head of the parole department." You're like, what? And he scared the crap out of Kevin, and Kevin became an informant. But I think Kevin was also willing at that point to kind of change his life. So Kevin became the driving informant behind Operation Blue Rag. And he told us about who was dealing dope, who was doing robberies, where they were parking stolen cars. We learned a wealth of stuff about the Crips and solved a whole bunch of serious cases. And then Pat had the history and the understanding that you can't keep an informant that active forever without the person getting burned or getting hurt. So he said, "Gary, we need to do an operation and take out as many of these guys as we can." So that's when we went to the drug buy operation part of Blue Rag. And Kevin cruised around East San Diego and Southeast San Diego and bought dope from people. And at the end of that operation, which I don't remember exactly how long it lasted, maybe 2 months, between dope buys and warrants and parole holds, we ended up arresting about 75 Crips, really based on the work that Kevin was leading us in. And Pat had a really interesting phrase. He goes, "Kevin's part of the team, just like Doug was and I was and the GST officers." So we really became a team. And then sort of the telling point of that was Pat and I were sitting out at 30th and Imperial about 2 weeks after all the buys, and this lady pushes her little baby in a stroller up to us, and she goes, "You guys are cops, aren't you?" We go, "Yeah." We're the only white people there. I mean, yeah. And she goes, "I love what you did." She goes, "I haven't been able to walk my baby in this area ever. And because of what you guys did, this is a safer community." And stuff like that leaves an impression. So eventually Blue Rag ends. We wait a while. We do the same model with Red Rag and the same model with a female informant for East Dago mob.
it was interesting because I think on Blue Rag was kind of innovative because he was wired. So you had audio evidence of the sales on the Niagara. Remember?
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Kevin had the Niagara.
Yeah. He had a recording device on him, and so not only, and he had to testify, if I recall, he testified. Did you guys do grand jury on Blue Rag?
We did. We did grand jury. We got all the indictments, and I don't think we went to court on 5 cases.
Yeah.
And then I think on the day of trial, they all pled. I don't think we ever had to testify.
No.
And Kevin didn't either.
And then, so on Blue Rag, I was fortunate. I wasn't really deep in as part of it, but we got to be on the sweep teams and the ID teams where we'd have to go in and ID these guys because we'd get a message the following day. A lot of the IDs would be the following day. We didn't have cell phones.
Right.
And so you couldn't call somebody and say, hey, go find this guy and give me a photo and an FI. So we'd meet with the detectives the day after. They'd give us descriptions. And then Kevin would tell us, this is who the guy is.
Yeah.
Because he knew all these guys, right? But he'd get them to say their names on the tape and all that good stuff. So we'd go out and we'd have to get a photograph, give it to the detectives, and the detectives would put the photograph out and go, Kevin, do you know this guy? Yeah, that's the guy that bought dope from me yesterday at this location at this time. But when they moved on to Red Rag, it got even better. Now we had videotapes.
Yeah, so that was interesting. So do you guys, well, some of you San Diego PD will remember Kevin Means. He was in the air unit, really creative guy. And he was kind of into tech. And he goes, why are you guys doing it the hard way? Why don't you put a camera in the car? And they had put the camera in the car. And then we had video of it. We had the names, we had everything. And that made it a whole lot easier. And I think everybody pled guilty in Red Rag. And again, keep in mind, it's the same models. You had to make the buy, you had to get them identified. Then you take it to grand jury and get indictments, and then you have a big sweep. And I remember in Red Rag or Blue Rag? It might have been Blue Rag, because the Crips were sitting in the police vehicle, and they're going, who's not here? And you could hear them. They were just talking. They go, who's not here? That MFer Kevin. It's him. And they figured it out like in 2 hours. And they were right. And then in Red Rag, the number of arrests I remember was 107 arrests. And that did a lot of damage to the blood gangs in San Diego. But again, it was the same thing. There was more drug buys. There was a lot more drug buys. The feds took the best cases federally, the most dope or the most serious criminal history. And we were happy to give them. The feds were supplying a lot of the money too. So they were great. They were part of the process. That informant was a guy named Tony. And Tony, Doug knows Tony. Maybe Doug can talk a little bit about Tony. And then I got a short story about Tony.
So Tony was the guy from East Diego Mob, which was a spin-off Crip group up in East San Diego. But I chased him around a few times. He was a big guy. He was, I don't know if he was part black or part Pacific Islander and Hispanic. He was just a big guy, kind of a gregarious guy. He was actually a very nice guy, but he was a Crip and he was a criminal. And I chased him a few times, and he dropped magazines to Uzis and stuff, and I could never get him with the gun. But I got invited to a briefing, and they wanted Pat and Gary and Sergeant Stone wanted me to be attached to the team as the lead identifier, because I'd been working that area for a long time in both weekend and the special enforcement division. So I knew all the gangsters. So I went to the briefing, and it was in a parking lot up near San Diego State that we were underground parking. I go there, and I have no idea that Tony's the CI. And Tony pops out of the car, and he runs like a madman. And he grabs in a big old bear hug. And I'm in uniform. And here's this giant gangster. He's probably 100 pounds bigger than I am. And he gets me in this big gang, in this big bear hug, and he's squeezing me, and he's laughing. He's like, I was hoping it was going to be you. I was hoping it was going to be you. And he kind of tosses me to the side. I'm like, and these guys are laughing. And I'm like, what is going on? And then I find out he's the informant. But it was like, I was like, what do I do? I got this. He was a big guy.
Yeah, he was.
Big guy.
Yeah.
But he was a gregarious guy. And I never got it. I was never able to get him dirty. He was a smart guy too.
Yeah.
But he had it in his heart at some point that he was going to help the police with the problems of East San Diego.
You know, Gary, you were talking about, you know, everybody pretty much figured it out. I remember I was on one of the teams that we did Red Rag. We were on SED, a special enforcement team. And we started hitting houses at dark 30 at 4 o'clock in the morning. You know, Big Whitey is sitting in the driveway, all kit and caboodle, right? And we went down to HQ. We were all in the Sally Port, and everybody is yelling from car to car. And this is around 8:30, 8:45, and they already knew who it was.
Yeah, I believe it. They're not dumb.
Yeah, and that's where, it's got to be that guy. No, man, no, it is that guy. Yeah, and they were right.
It was interesting because he knew people in the Bloods and the Crips.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He was able to go to both, even though he was a Crip. He was able to go to both sides.
Hey, Gary, when you guys did Operation Blue Rag, we had 2 major Crip gang sets in San Diego. We had Neighborhood Crip, which was over there by Market, and we had the
West Coast.
West Coast, which was in Logan Heights, that immediate area, Sherman Heights area. Did you guys target both gang sets or just one of the 2 gang sets?
No, we went after both of them. I think we knew Kevin knew Neighborhood better, but he knew people in West Coast, and we took down people in both of those sets. So it was interesting. You know, Neighborhood was kind of known in the department as the group that did high-profile robberies. That's what they were known for, and the pursuits where they bait officers into chasing them, the mad 41st Street mad drivers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But West Coast was known as the dope dealing side, and that was their forte. They were dope dealers, and they were violent. They were involved in more shootings than Neighborhood. So they were dope dealers and shooters, and Neighborhood was 211 guys.
Hey, we have one quick question from Gabe Morales. He used to be a correctional officer at Folsom State Prison in the early 80s to early 90s, or mid 80s, early 90s. He says, I had a Skyline San Diego Blood at New Folsom in the late 80s named Junior Flournoy. Do you remember him, Junior Flournoy?
I don't remember the junior, but there was 2 other Flournoys that were in the gangs. Junior might have been an older brother. I don't think I ever contacted him, or maybe that's a name that he's using. I knew a Raymond Flournoy. I can't remember the other one, but there was 2 of them.
He ended up being one of the big shot callers for the United Blood Nation in the early 80s there at Folsom. He had him there.
Yeah, so if he came out of San Diego, I'm sure he's part of the Flournoy family. I don't know if that's the guy that was a San Diego guy or not, though. I just know that last name.
And then one quick question from What Dudes Against the Grain. Any stories about Linda Vista Crips? Did you guys target them also on Operation Blue Rag?
We did. The one story I remember, there was Linda Vista Crips were a multi-racial gang. They weren't strictly black or Hispanic. There was white guys in that gang too. And there was a white guy that they called the Ghost. He had some really funny name, like the Ghost, something relating to being white, if I remember. And there was a liquor store in Linda Vista on Linda Vista Road, and we were looking for him. And Pat and I had walked in there to get a soft drink. And I don't know if you remember, but the gang unit had the gang jackets with the SG on them that we'd wear in the winter.
Yeah.
And we see this guy in there, and it's the guy we're looking for, the Ghost or whatever his name was. And I said to Pat, it's the Ghost. It's the Ghost. And he sees us, and he bolts out the door. And Pat couldn't run as fast as I could, so I'm catching up with the guy, and I jump to tackle him. And as I'm flying down to the ground, I go, God, I hope I don't wreck this jacket, because it was like $100. And I was like, and Pat gets there, and the guy gives up pretty quick. I mean, there wasn't a big major fight or anything, but I go, God, Pat, thanks for covering me. It was really funny. It's like I was worried about my jacket, not. Anyway, but yeah, we did go after them. We did.
Yeah, we should do in the future. We should do.
I think Bobby has a question. Go ahead, Bobby.
Go ahead, Doug. Go ahead.
I was gonna say maybe we should do, since he's got some interest in Linda Vista. Just the gangs in general in Linda Vista are very interesting, and how they all came together. And I think this guy will agree with me that initially they were all called the Insane Family Gang, and they became so large that they started splitting off into more kind of ethnic grouped, but they all kind of got along because they all came from the same original Insane Family gang.
Really? I didn't know that. That's interesting. Yeah.
It's an interesting place to work. It's a whole different culture.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead, Bobby.
A couple of points. It's I was at ground zero in undercover narcotics when the crack cocaine epidemic hit us. So all the LA gangs, the black gangs, were bringing crack cocaine to Phoenix, and they were supplying all our locals. And it was just, I mean, you guys saw it, I'm sure. It was crazy because I got there full time in '86. I was buying a lot of crack, but the San Diego black gangs were bringing PCP water to us, to our black gang. So I was buying a lot of Sherm. Saul Ayala was buying PCP water, and they were all being supplied by black San Diego gangsters. And it was a really crazy time. So the LA gangs are doing the crack and powder, and the San Diego gangs were doing the PCP. Were any of your black gangsters dealing with the PCP at that time?
You know, I think they were, and we would stumble across people. Patrol would pick them up. GST would pick them up with PCP. But in these operations, honestly, I do not remember a PCP related arrest.
Okay, and then one other point. It's the evolution you see of your sources, of your informants. I'm hearing the story where they want to come over and hug you. I remember I developed a lot of snitches. So it'd be like sometimes patrol would hand them over to you, and these are hardcore career criminals that grew up hating us. And then you start developing that relationship, and all of a sudden they start thinking they're your partner, like literally your partner. And I remember Saul Ayala and I told one guy that, I mean, he was a hardcore pinto, older Mexican guy, all tatted out. May rest in peace, he's passed. And one day we just said, man, you've done such great work for us. Do you want a secret agent funeral if you get whacked for what you're doing for us? And he's like, what's that? I said, all us undercover guys will be your pallbearer. We'll have an American flag. And he goes, hell yeah. He was all He said, all right, because if you get whacked working for us, you're going to have a secret agent funeral just like they do for us. He was so happy. And oh my God, it was. But I hear the evolution. You get that where you get some of these guys that, you know, they grew up hating us. And then they get to see the human side of us. And then, you know, we're hooking them up. I had guys that I'm fronting my own money to connect their power, taking them clothes for their kids and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden, you see these guys literally I had a couple that I think would have taken a bullet for me because they were so close as far as a team. They thought, you know, we were one good team.
I just have to tell you, I totally agree with your observations. We experienced the same thing. And a lot of it was, if you talk to them the right way, you know, I don't know if everybody on this was a detective, but when we were doing robberies, you're reading the cases and you're seeing some of your robberies are really violent. They're pistol whipping people and they're gangsters. And in your mind, you think these are the most evil person, and it serves to motivate you. But when you're sitting across the interview table from them, they're in handcuffs. You go, you know what? They do bad stuff sometimes, but they're human beings. And if you could find that connection, you could use that. You could leverage that to connect deeper and deeper. And those people, if you did it right and they were receptive, became your best informants.
Yes.
So
you still got to treat them with respect.
absolutely.
Hey, Gary, we have a quick question from Grant. He's actually a journalist. He's been on our show and he's going to be on in a couple of weeks. He's asking, did you find that rap music, it was probably during that time that rap music was starting to pop with the Crips and Bloods, music beef was a source of a lot of gang conflicts during that time?
You know, I got to be honest. I could not stand rap music. So it's like I did not listen to a lot of it. It was a source of some conflicts. Some of our Lincoln Park Cindo guys were into rapping. There's a really famous rapper that came out of that gang set. And it did create some conflict. It did. But it was not maybe just because of my bias, I kind of like country western and big band music. I had a hard time listening to rap music. So
Well, just to piggyback on that, when I was on Operation ESD, when Gary was the sergeant, I don't know if you remember this case, but our informant was a female at the time, and well, she still is.
she's still a female.
She's a female. She's not still our informant.
If she's alive.
Yeah, but she bought dope from this guy, and then my partner Ryan Simonik and I, we went out to go get the photo because it was the same operation, ran the same. We knew who this, because we watched the video, so we knew who we were looking for, so we could go a day or two later, so it wouldn't come back to the informant. Well, we find him and we do our field interviews, we take a picture, and he's selling CDs. And so I says, hey, how much you selling your CDs for? And he says, I'm selling for $5. So I took out our informant monies, our investigative funds, and I gave him $5, and I took the CD, and we started listening to his tapes. Well, on the cover of the CD, he's standing there and he's got a gun in his pocket. You can see and he's got the handle of a revolver. It's plainly a revolver that he's got in his pocket. We listened to the CD, and on one of the songs, he's talking about a carjacking he did with a Wyatt Earp gun. We're like, oh, that's interesting, because he had that style gun in his pocket in the photograph. So he was so detailed in his song about the crime. When we looked into it, we figured out that it was about an actual carjacking that he wrote the song about. So we were able to indict him on that case because of that dope buy. We solved. He was involved in a series of carjackings, but we were able to prove that he did that one carjacking based off his CD. And that case, we expanded quite more cases on Operation ESD. We were able to do other things. We bought guns and we bought different things that we didn't do in the first two. But you learn as you go, and your operations become much more efficient, and you kind of spread your tentacles out a little bit further as to what crimes you're going to investigate. So yeah, to answer his question, yeah, the music maybe at that time didn't cause problems. It did later on. I investigated some of those cases later on, but at that time they helped us solve crimes because these guys were bragging about crimes they did.
Hey, Doug,
I remember what Reverend Rez is talking about, Mitchie Slick from Lincoln Park.
yeah, did you know him, Sean?
No, we ran into him now and again, but you know what? He was a big deal in Lincoln Park. I mean, they were all, like, hey, this guy's the guy. He's going to make us famous and stuff. But somebody else made them famous, ball player. But anyways.
I'm just curious. Do you know, Sean, if he ever got arrested or got in prison?
Who, Mitchie?
Yeah.
I think we popped him on a couple of little minor things, but it wasn't anything, and after I left SED, I went back down to the border. But, when you were talking about building the rapport with these guys and stuff like that, we ran into a group, and I'm just standing there. I'm letting all the weekend guys or the gang guys talking to these guys. I'm just standing there, with my SWAT pin on and looking hip, slick, and groovy and shit. And one guy's just staring at me, and he keeps looking at me, and he keeps looking at my Beretta, and he keeps looking back at me, and I go, I'm thinking, okay, the spidey senses are coming up. I'm thinking, okay, this guy's going to go for my gun. And he goes, hey, you've been in a shooting, haven't you? And I go, why do you ask that? And he goes, you got that look, and plus, and he points at the Beretta, and I had Packmeyer grips, the finger grips on my gun. And come to find out, for some reason, these guys, if you went and talked to them, they would look to see what kind of weapon. First of all, how you looked in your uniform. If you look like a shit sandwich, they treat you like shit. But they looked at your weapon to see if you had Packmeyers, because they knew that you knew how to use that weapon system, and they wouldn't talk shit. They're just like, okay, it is what it is. It was really
That's
weird.
Pretty interesting, Sean. I'd never heard that before.
I've never heard that either. That's very interesting.
I'm going, how do you know that? And he said, oh, yeah, that's what we look for. I said, okay, yeah.
Hey, Gary, real quick from Benny Cruz, when you guys did the Bloods, the Red Rag, did you guys also target Sindel Mob and Lincoln Park?
We did. We every blood gang in San Diego, we'd go after everyone. Yep. Yeah.
We even went after everything was said and done. Judy Parks came up to us. It was Steve Cross was my sergeant. We had Nayrich and we had Dolzal and a couple of guys on the team. And she goes, "Hey, this kid's not on the list, but I need to go and check his house." So we go to his house, knock on the door. The kid answers the door, and he's got a red T-shirt on, black Levi's with red stitching, a red snakeskin belt, and red Chucks on. And he looks at us, and he turns around, and he puts his hands behind his back because the word was out. By then, the word was out. So we hook him up, we take him back inside, and she's tossing his room, young little poopah. And he looks at us and goes, "Hey, you guys aren't those SED MFers, are you?" And we're looking at, and Cross goes, "No, we're the SWAT team," because all of us were on SWAT. And he goes, I go, "Why, you got a problem with the SED guys?" And we were SED, we're just SWAT guys. And he goes, "Yeah." And he goes, "There's two motherfuckers that drive this big white van. If I find them out on the street, I'm gonna kick that MFN asses." There was only two guys in the whole unit that drove Big Whitey, and we're standing in his living room. So she leans out of his bedroom. She goes, "Okay, we're taking him." And I go, "Oh, okay. I've never seen this kid before in my life, and neither did Nayrich." So I go, "Officer Nayrich, would you kindly go and bring our police vehicle and park it in the driveway?" And he backs Big Whitey in the driveway. And as soon as he walked out in front of his house, he goes, "Oh shit!" And I go, "That's right, motherfucker. We're gonna have a chat." Yeah. So we had a chat with him in the back of Big Whitey. And on our way back down to HQ, Danny Vega goes, "Hey, I need a transport unit at 32 and something or other." He had two West Coast Crips. Oh man, I grabbed that radio. We're going right down there. So now there's two West Coast Crips and this little poop butt from some blood set. And he did not like that at all. He didn't, but, payback.
We have to make a clarification. So in SED, we had white patrol cars, white prisoner vans. The rest of the department had black and white.
Black and whites.
So that hence the term the Big Whitey. The Big Whitey was not a racial issue. It was
no, not at all. Not at all.
Prisoner van.
No, it's just
out there that may be wondering what Sean is talking about.
Yeah, and the only thing we took the van. Nayrich and I were both on the rifle team, and we were both on SWAT, and all of our gear fit in the back.
In the very back, yeah.
It was all secured, so we had it once. Yeah.
Hey, Gary, I got two questions. Whatever happened to Kevin, your CI on Blue Rag, and to Tony on Red Rag? Are they still alive? Did they go to prison? Did they rehabilitate? Whatever happened to those two guys?
They both got in trouble after they were informants. They had a hard time. And I really think, and I don't mean this as a compliment, but when you had cops that cared about them and kind of made them toe the line, they didn't screw up. But when they got out of that sort of controlled environment, they both screwed up. Kevin ended up being arrested somewhere on the East Coast. I don't even know where. And I heard rumor he had contracted AIDS in prison. I don't know if that was drugs related or something else. Kevin may or may not be alive now. I heard he was really sick. I don't know what happened to Tony. I don't. But I know from maybe Doug told me, but he also got in trouble again and had to go before a judge. And I don't know.
He got involved in some property burglaries. Nothing violent, but he was breaking into houses and doing that kind of stuff. But there are a couple of success stories out there for CI, so we'll get into those.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I wanted to share one thing, Sean. You brought up Judy Parks.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I think collectively we probably know that San Diego PD has a really good reputation for working with other agencies. Mm-hmm. So when we were doing these operations, we had FBI, we had probation, we had parole, we had the DA's office gang investigators, and we used other agencies too. And when you have that kind of a team where you can really kind of cover all the bases, you really kind of double, triple your chances of success. And probation officers like Judy Parks and some great parole agents made all the difference in the world in getting a door opened or talking to a person that was under arrest. And I've always thought San Diego did that really, really well. It makes a difference.
And that was a unique experience because all my experience dealing, in patrol and all that, because I was an agent at the time. And, my whole thing was about being on SWAT and, just doing all the tactical shit. But that when we were in SEDs, we worked with Pat Burris. We worked with you guys. We worked with Jim, Duncan. I mean, we were all one big, it wasn't SED. It was this one big, DAs, the probation, parole. Yeah, it worked out really well.
Yeah, it did. Yeah. It did.
Hey, talking about Judy Parks, I don't know if you knew this, but my wife, Wavy, her name, they used to call her Wavy. Her last name was Roebuck at the time. It was Judy Parks, Wavy, and also Pam Martinez. They were the first probation officers that were armed in the gang unit.
I remember that.
And then I think she helped you on some of the arrests with Judy Parks. Back then, like I said, her name was Wavelyn Roebuck. Everybody called her Wavy. But right before we came on, she wanted me to say hi to you. She definitely remembers.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
She remembers you. Yeah.
So then got promoted. You went to Western Division, right?
Right.
And then who came up with Operation ESD? How did that come out?
I think that probably came from Pat and I still talking to each other and realizing the model works. And so we used a female informant on that. And she was pretty successful too. The thing I remember, so she had a camera in her car and she had probably an 8-track. And she's always playing the Whitney Houston song. What's the one about love? What's the great song Whitney does about? Oh, dang, it's her best song ever.
Well, Sean would know. What would it be, Sean?
I will always love you. So we had to watch all these tapes, right? Every tape had I will love you. Like, oh my God, I probably listened to that song 150 times. It was like,
why are you asking me?
Yeah. But she was great. And she, we don't always think in the gang world of women being able to do stuff. She was absolutely every bit as tough and as smart as the guys that she was getting to sell her dope. And I got in trouble by the department. They blew a gasket. She was getting married, and I went to her wedding. I'm saying this because Benny talked about spending his own money. So I know I'm not the only one that did that. But I went to her wedding, and then that came out, and the department got all pissed off about it. But you know what? It's a relationship. It's a relationship.
Right. It's
She wanted us to come to her wedding, so I did.
There's the people who have never worked sources. They are totally clueless of what it takes to establish a relationship and trust. Not only with an informant at a criminal level. I worked overseas where my job was to develop sources within the Mexican government. So there it was totally different. These guys, at least on the surface, were not supposed to be criminals. They probably were, but it's and then when the department hears of some of the things that we do, they blow a gasket and they're like, listen, especially when I was working undercover, my life depends on these guys sometimes, a lot of times, because I'm the only Spanish speaker in this group and I got to go into a bar. Are you kidding me? And they just don't understand. The bean counters do not understand what it takes to develop that relationship, which makes these cases and makes the neighborhood safer. So don't get me started on that topic.
It would be a great topic for a future date. But
yes.
And with Gary, I think we worked together at Western or Eastern.
No, Western.
So Western. We were both sergeants at Western, and Gary was always calm, cool, collected. You know what? When you mentioned that, I figured, yeah, that would be my luck. All right, they'd jump on my shit. Find something. But with Gary, I mean, he was just like, you were just you were just a great guy. And how
I
could somebody
appreciate that.
and jump on your shit? You know, they're looking for shit.
Well, their argument was that if it comes up in court, they can say that you contaminated the witness or there's conflict of interest. And I remember arguing with the DA because we told them that, like with Kevin, Kevin had a drug problem.
Mhm.
There was times when he was borderline homeless. So Pat and I rented him a hotel room. We had the receipts, you know, we told the DA, and they're like bent out of shape, but it's like, we're the ones that are living in the street. We know the informant. We know our suspects. And I would say to them, take this to court and have me testify about it. They'll believe what I'm telling them. And they were afraid of that. They always wanted the perfect case, the clean cut, you know, no cloudy areas. But it's like, you're worried about me paying for a hotel room for a night? You know, what was it, $67 back then? I'll tell them exactly why I did it, and they'll believe me. So I think we all collectively stand up for our cases.
Oh yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Hey, Gary, you know what? One of our worst enemies is time. And I'll tell you, we've been on for 55 minutes, 47 seconds. And to me, and I know to the rest of us, it's literally been like 3 minutes. I mean, I don't know about you, if it's been 3 minutes for you, but for us, I mean, this show was so interesting. It went by so fast. But we know you're coming back next week and you're bringing a CI. Can you and Doug tell us what the show's going to be about next week so those that are watching can anticipate, like I am and all of us are, of who our next guest is and what the topic will be?
You want to?
Yeah, I think we're going to talk a little bit about a case. It was a very high-profile case in the community. It was the murder of a young man, Willie James Jones, down in Southeast San Diego. Just graduated high school. He had a full-ride scholarship to Cornell University. They were having a graduation party at his house. It was well organized. His uncle at the time was a sergeant with San Diego PD. He worked patrol in that division, and he actually checked on him in the party that night, and everything looked to be okay. And then some gang members were not allowed to be at the party. They came back later on, shot up the party, and Willie was killed. So it's going to be a story about a grieving family, but what it really is going to be about is about how Gary and his partner again, Pat Burse, called out of other other jobs to work that case because it had stalled and they needed some help, and how we got Gary on board, and then the CI that worked the case with them. And that gentleman's going to be the one that comes on with us, and he will talk about his experiences with police beforehand, and his experience and what made him come forward to help, and his experience with what his thoughts are and stuff of police afterwards. So it should be a really good show, and I think it'll be interesting because we haven't really had a lot of shows on black gangs and involving CIs to this magnitude where, lives were changed because of these folks that came forward. You think about, just to go on a little bit here, if you think about all the cases that Gary did for Blue Rag, Red Rag, Operation ESD, those were groundbreaking operations that spread throughout the country. Those types of operations went everywhere after that because they saw that they were successful, they were manageable, they didn't cost a ton of money. They cost money, but not a ton of money. But think about the crimes that were prevented. There were you can't even imagine how many crimes were prevented by these guys not being on the streets. And the idea was to target the people you knew were doing the crimes, but you couldn't charge them because there wasn't a witness willing to come forward, or you didn't have enough evidence to show that they did the shooting. But if you could buy dope from him and get him off the street for 4 or 5 years, he wasn't going to do any more shootings. That's the idea of these projects. And then how many cold cases you solve, because now you've got a guy in custody on a dope case, and he's looking at doing, back then we had the 3 strikes. He's looking at doing life. He's a 3-striker. What do I got to do to get out of this? You got any information on any murders? Got any information on drive-by shootings? A lot of crimes got solved, and I think that kind of stuff gets missed. And people don't understand that. Yeah, and I don't think administrations understand this. This is the problem: is that informants can be pricey, they can be expensive, but at what cost do we not use human intelligence? Because they're saving lives. They're saving lives every day, and that's what we're going to talk with him about.
And I think you mentioned that he's a minister now, a pastor or something now, Doug. Was it you that mentioned him?
No, I don't think he is, but
No, okay. I just
think
thought
he is, but
But
give me a go ahead. Go
he's a
ahead.
Christian. He's a Christian. He's found
He's a
God.
Christian. That is beautiful. We can't wait to hear that portion. If you guys could please do me a favor, send me some videos, maybe of some of the newscasts. Well, I could pull that up, and also some pictures. So as he's talking about whether he's a Crip or a Blood, I could be posting pictures. And when he's talking about the murder, I can maybe post that also as he's talking, maybe the news clipping or something. That'd be great. I really appreciate that.
yeah, we'll come up with something and send it to you.
Perfect. And also, you know what? If we want, let's get a bunch of pictures together. We'll send it to Benny and have him or Gary pick well, not Gary. He's gonna pick a country western song, but have him. Don't disrespect the country western, but get some Crip show. But have him maybe pick a song, Christian, whatever he wants, and we could do an intro for that episode. If you remember, let's send Benny the pictures. I'm sure he could do that for us.
I'll check in with him. Yeah.
Yeah.
By the way,
Hey, guys,
I remember the
go
Whitney
ahead.
Houston song. It's "I Will Always Love You." So just so I'm not
Oh,
troubled
for the
tonight.
bodyguard.
There you go,
For
Sean.
the bodyguard.
Hey, Gary, we can't wait for next week. You know what? We're going to pick up where we left off, and this gentleman that's coming, it's going to be outstanding. But, guys, with that said, Bobby, we give it to you. Last words to our listeners. Advice.
Great show, Gary. I think like a lot of people don't realize these investigations, like the one you did. We did several here in Phoenix. There was one in inner city Phoenix, just east of the neighborhood I grew up in. It was no man's land. You couldn't even go in there. Today, it's the corner market where all the gangsters used to hang out. Is a nice Mexican restaurant where all the white people come from the suburbs and eat $8 tacos. So it's a safe place now to gentrification and weed and seed. We used a lot of weed and seed money.
Yep.
And it was we just cleaned that neighborhood out. Now they moved out west, but that neighborhood now, the home values have gone up, and there's nice little restaurants, hole in the walls that our local media talks about. Must place to go to eat those $8 tacos.
Yeah.
Any last advice, Bobby?
No, just look forward to for the next episode. And if anybody, all you listeners, if you like the show, hit like and share it with your friends. Thanks for joining us.
Big Sean?
Hey, it's good seeing you again, Gary. You haven't changed a bit. You still look the same. As far as the thing, and Gary's mentioned it, when you treat people with respect, you get a lot more out of them, out of that meeting. And again, just be safe and look what's going on around you. And looking forward to next week. I truly am. It brings a lot of good memories from SED and Western and Eastern and all that. Yeah. And Pat Burst. He was a great guy. He is a great guy.
Big Doug?
Hey, just all you guys out there. Thanks for tuning in, and those are going to catch us later on. Thanks for listening to the show. We really appreciate it. And like Bobby said, hit that like button. But hey, just stay safe out there. It's a crazy world right now. And all our prayers to law enforcement everywhere. I mean, Chicago just had 57 shootings, 58 shootings, and 8 homicides over a 3-day weekend. I mean, that's not acceptable. And I'm not going to put the blame on any one specific person, but our judicial system needs to get back on track. Our politicians need to get back on track, and they need to start supporting our law enforcement personnel because recruiting is down everywhere, and I can tell you it's down everywhere from the people I've talked to is because there's no support. When you've got your bosses telling everybody that they want to defund you, why would you ever join an organization?
Yeah.
So So remember, the ballot box is the place to go, folks. I don't give advice on who or how to vote, but if you want to vote for safety in your community, you know where you got to go. And that's my advice.
Amen.
And Gary, once again, thank you very much, brother. It's a blessing seeing you again, and we can't wait for next week. We'll see you next week, Gary. God bless you.
You bet. Thanks for the opportunity, Doug, and all of you. I've enjoyed this a lot. Thanks.
Oh, great.
Thank you.
Glad to have you on.
Used to spend my nights out in ballroom. Liquor was the only love I'd known. But you rescued me from reaching for the bottom and brought me back, being too far gone. You're as smooth as Tennessee whiskey.